Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Press Start podcast, Press Start Australia's weekly video game discussion podcast. I'm your host, James, joined today by my fellow gamers and co-hosts, Ewan.
Hello.
And Brody.
Hello.
Today we're going to be talking about the PlayStation State of Play that happened last week, a PC adapter being announced for VR2, and whether it will be enough to save it, why we shouldn't be, maybe, as excited for Summer Games Fest as we are, Google reportedly to blame for Nintendo's leaks, and some positive news, perhaps, for the Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake.
There's like so many caveats to the news this week.
Yeah, it's like, yeah.
Maybe, perhaps.
But first, Brody, you're a feet man, and you've,
Ooh.
yeah, I hear, the rumors are to be believed. I've heard you have shared your preview of Angerfoot in the week. It's a game that Ewan is really excited for too, and he's also played it from what I understand. A lot of feet talk in the group chat. What are your thoughts on Angerfoot? Sell me on it. As someone who doesn't care for feet.
Yeah, okay. Look, it definitely leans into the grotesque nature of feet in a very Nickelodeon Ren and Stimpy kind of way. Like,
oh yeah, I'm in.
You got big green feet.
It was that easy.
Yeah, so very Hotline Miami-esque. You storm these buildings, kick into your heart's content. You get guns and all that sort of stuff, but the big charm of it is just like kicking the house down, basically. There are things I don't love about it. I do think the level design can be a bit labyrinthian. The further you get, like the buildings don't start to make sense, and it's just winding paths for winding paths' sake, and the levels can get a bit overly long. To the point where, like, say, a couple of the levels are like 2.5 minutes and stuff like that, which doesn't sound too bad, but when you get, like, cheap deaths here and there, which you do, because, I mean, you die pretty quickly, it can be pretty frustrating to go all the way back to the start. Like, but the game sort of has a few good accessibility stuff to, like, features, I guess, to help you get around that if you want. Like, you can... Features, that's right, well on you.
Oh, that's good.
Like, you can toggle God mode effectively and just blow through and, like, cheat the game of its stars and all that sort of stuff, because it's got a star system, so you can, very Angry Birds like, where you get one for finishing the level and then 2 more for doing certain challenges within the level and so forth. But yeah, look, it's got a fun art direction. Like, I sort of described it as like Justin Roiland-esque, but then I thought, oh, probably shouldn't mention him, so I said, oh, maybe it's very Squanch-like or whatever. But yeah, Squanch-like, so it's very squanchy versus, like, say, Nickelodeon, like 90s cartoons, very, like, gross, yeah, like I said, Ren and Stimpy-like almost. And then, like, yeah, it's just got this really good, like, EDM soundtrack that just sort of, yeah, it keeps you going, it keeps you nice and energetic, so... it's a bit of fun, but again, there's certain things that I don't love about it. It's just sort of inconsistent in terms of the experience you get out of it, but I think if they can, you know, sharpen that up, it'll be pretty good. I've frozen again.
The internet is having a moment today.
Oh, I'm back.
Seems. He's back. Yeah, cool. I feel
I
like as soon as I
concluded
speak,
what I was
he comes
saying.
back.
If you would like to,
Yeah, I kind of share Brody's sentiment, although I haven't nearly played as much as I imagine he has. I love the kind of style of the game. I think it kind of has that sort of down pat. It's very much the kind of what you come to expect, I think, from a developer polished game, where it's kind of very kind of unique, I suppose, in its approach. And I love just like the kind of setup is like as simple as it's kind of a sneakerhead who finally kind of completes his collection of shoes, and then this kind of criminal gang like steal the collection of shoes, and he kind of goes off in pursuit of them. And yeah, at least the kind of gang members that I sort of encountered as part of the preview were all quite kind of quirky, and there are a few enemy variants in there too that kind of made me kind of have to switch up my approach. But yeah, it's very Hotline Miami-esque, which obviously speaks my language. I was surprised at the kind of difficulty of it. It's not kind of like as fast and as fluid as, say, like a Ghost Runner style thing, where you're kind of like immediately loading back into the action and checkpoints are quite generous. You are resetting back to the start of the level in a Hotline Miami sort of way, and asked to approach the combat in almost like kind of a puzzle solving sort of way. It's like, okay, I need to start remembering like where enemies are, which gun I need to pick up to then clear the next room. And there's this kind of balance between like moving quickly through the level in order to get the stars that Bernie mentioned versus kind of running into a room a little too gung-ho and subsequently dying. So that's kind of like this constant kind of battle of like not exposing yourself too much versus like actually trying to get through the level within the time limit. Not time limit, but yeah, beating whatever time you're trying to get. So yeah, it's not quite hit for me in the same way that Hotline Miami did, or Ghost Runner, which are kind of two games in the genre that particularly appeal to me. But I do really like the style, and I'm kind of eager to see how they kind of develop it, what new weapons they introduce, what new enemy types they introduce, if the levels kind of change much more, that kind of thing. Based on what I've played at the moment, if it was to be that for the whole game, I think I'd get a little bit bored with it, but it's off on the right foot, one might say.
So it's mainly kicking, is that right?
No, it is a pretty good mix of kicking and guns. Like, you get a lot of guns.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, enemies start off with pistols. You hold them in your hands.
Not with your feet?
Not with your feet, no. You do ride zip lines with your feet.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's interesting.
I didn't encounter like a melee weapon you picked up. Like, it was all ranged weapons, and then like once your bullets run out, you're either having to pick up another one or resort back to kicking. And you get some levels will give you bonus stars if you clear the level with just your foot, that kind of thing.
No
but
shoes,
when you
etc.
kick a door, like, you'll send it flying, and you can kind of like aim the doors, I found. So if you kind of know that there's an enemy in the corner of the next room, if you hit the door at an angle, you can send it off in that direction. And they really kind of fly and break up, and bits and stuff fly everywhere, and you can kick explosive barrels and stuff and take out enemies in one fell swoop. And yeah, there's things like that shake it up. But yeah, it is a lot of green feet energy.
Yeah, and all the sneakers themselves, like, as you unlock them, because you unlock them for every 5 stars that you get, you unlock a new pair of shoes. There's like 25 pairs of shoes or something in the game, and I think you get one at every boss, and then it's every 5 stars you get from the levels. And each of those have their own abilities and stuff like that. Like, one of the first ones you unlock just is as simple as like it's a big head mode modifier, which is just a bit of fun, but others obviously affect the gameplay in more meaningful ways. So yeah, that's a bit of fun in that way. Yeah,
25 pairs.
That's a lot of shoes.
It's like an episode of Sex and the City.
Absolutely. Carrie.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Speaking of kicking, you'd be kicking yourself if you woke up early to watch the state of play last week. So obviously last week Sony held a state of play. I believe it was what we expected. I don't think we were expecting a showcase, were we?
No.
Although I've already gone back and listened to our predictions. They're all awful. But
yeah,
yeah,
I'm so in doubt now of all of our predictions.
All of them, yeah, which we'll talk about later. But the PlayStation State of Play was last week. I got up at 5:30 to get ready to cover it. Not sure if I'm happy about that, but it's what I do. Absolutely, for the brand. I'm all about the brand. Amongst a handful of announcements and new trailers, the big news, I guess, was that there was a new Astro Bot game, a deep dive on Concord, and more on the Until Dawn remake and Monster Hunter Wilds. So I guess we'll start with Concord, because I think they did.
Yeah.
From memory. What did you all make of it? Thoughts, feelings, scintillating insights.
As someone who just does not like these sorts of games and hero shooters, it's a miss for me. Like, it looked a bit of fun, but as I think I saw a good tweet, someone said it just screams of Sony couldn't afford the Guardians license, basically, because it's very Guardians of the Galaxy, but like from Temu. So yeah, look, wasn't for me.
Maybe even Wish.
Maybe even Wish.com. That's right. It's the Wish.com Guardians of the Galaxy. So yeah, like that. Even the tone of it just wasn't for me. Like, it's very doesn't take itself seriously. It's very meant to be very fun and very vibey, and I'm just like, look, I don't care. Give me a good game, please.
Yeah. There were aspects to it that I liked. Like, when they were showing the kind of cutscene, I was very much like, oh my god, this is very Guardians of the Galaxy. But I was kind of getting into it, and then they were like, this is a 5v5 PvP hero shooter. And I was like, oh, I forgot that part. That's the part that I don't like so much.
It's like the core concept of
the game.
It's like the part that you don't like. That might be an issue.
Yeah.
I agree. Like, I find it with all of these games, they have these like flashy cutscenes with these characters interacting together, and you think, wow, this seems like a really cool, solid single player game. but then none of that is actually reflected in the game. And
Yeah.
I do feel like it feels late in a way. Like I do think like maybe when Overwatch was blowing up, this might have been something a bit cooler.
Yeah, people
But-
are kind of down on like Overwatch 2, right?
I feel
so. Maybe
I don't know, but I feel like the sentiment is definitely shit. Like
yeah, which might
because of
mean
the-
this is like fertile ground now for them to move in. But in the same, literally in the same state play, we had confirmation that Marvel Rivals is coming to PS5 as well,
Which
and
looks a
you'd
lot
think
better.
that
which looks much more interesting. Like
Yeah.
as interesting as those games can be. But yeah, I agree.
yeah, that just looks like it's going to stand a much better chance. And to Concord as well, like it looks expensive, and I like that they're kind of talking about there being a different cutscene, like each week or something
Every
that kind of
week, yeah.
develops every week. Yeah, just nuts. That develops his characters
See how
kind
long
of
that
further.
Lasts, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I mean,
How much
presumably they'll
content
have
did
a bunch
Suicide Squad
backed
have
up,
lined up?
but yeah.
It reminded me a lot of Suicide Squad in the way that it was presented. You know, like this kind of band of like
Yeah,
cocky
Ne'er-do-wells.
people. Yeah, do you know what? Like, I don't know. The vibe was very similar, in my opinion.
Like I know it sounds shitty, but I kind of look at this trailer and I'm like, how bad must have like the Last of Us multiplayer game have been to, you know, cancel that and hedge your bets on this. Like,
That's the thing, like as well, like the brand power. There's like none yet. Which like I'm not.
Yeah.
I love new IP. Like I think it's way more interesting. Obviously, like I'll probably take this over a Last of Us multiplayer game if I had to pick between both of those.
even Spider-Man: The Great Web, like that allegedly.
Yeah,
got
like
cancelled.
that idea was also great. But yeah, and this is also like their first game. I know it's like a bunch of Destiny vets, so like there is potential there.
yeah.
But I just feel like it's such a poisoned
Yeah.
chalice at the moment. Like games as a service, like you know.
Nothing about this really kind of does enough unique for me to go, I'm like all in on this. I really want to give this a go. That being said, like off the back of Helldivers 2, you know, that kind of earned a bit of kind of goodwill for me in terms of like what PlayStation's live service strategy is kind of about. And I know we still have our doubts. I think those doubts are still very much warranted. But I am curious about what Concord is. That being said, it looks like this is going to bear a price tag of like presumably kind of a near
Like $100
full,
bucks.
yeah, a full
Yeah.
price release, which kind of scares me off a little bit. I think Helldivers benefited from like strong word of mouth and the fact that it was a bit cheaper in entry as well. But if this doesn't kind of get enough like early adopters in there promoting the game and they don't like what they find in there, I worry about how long this community is going to stick around, if it ever really forms. Yeah, I'm kind of reserving judgment until I get hands on the game. There's the open beta, I think, right? A month or
There is a
so
beta. I
before
don't
it.
know if is it open or closed. I don't know.
July or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it's
Yeah.
like next month.
Okay, I'll double check that, but
I think
yeah,
I think it's good they're doing day and date PC and PlayStation. I think that's really important for a game like this.
Makes
having a
total
lot of people on.
sense. Yeah.
But yeah, but it doesn't excite me a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, that like I really enjoyed Destiny's kind of PvP stuff. Not that I played hundreds of hours of it, but what I did play, I enjoyed. And I think this looked a lot like that, and the kind of enemy builds, the character builds kind of all looked pretty sensible, but yet nothing really struck me as kind of all that revolutionary or interesting about this, which I feel like it kind of needs that point of difference to really pull people in.
Yeah,
Agree.
hopefully soon. Arguably the other big announcement was Astro Bot, like a full blown. I don't want to say proper, but like a full length game, right? Which looked very much like a Nintendo game in a lot of ways, like a 3D platformer. Ewan, do you think Astro Bot is now a key PlayStation platformer, rivaling that of Sackboy and maybe even Crash and Spyro?
I think Astro Bot is on their way there. I mean, Sackboy, obviously, I wouldn't play Sackboy in the same like echelon as Crash Bandicoot and Spyro or like Crash, like Ratchet and Jack for that sort of that same sort of thing as well. Sackboy's like a
Ratchet
peg
and Jack.
below. Ratchet and Jack, you know what I mean.
Clank and Daxter.
But I feel like Astro Bot's like kind of on a footing with like Sackboy now, and that's certainly like where PlayStation, I think, kind of see. Sorry, go on.
No, I think that with like people like us, probably.
Yeah.
But I think Crash and Spyro, like, they are brands that people know who might not even play games anymore. I think those brands are still probably a little bit more big and out there.
That being said, I think the quality of the games absolutely is rivaling like some of the best of all of these. Like,
of course.
Playroom
Especially
was
like half of the Crash games.
Yeah, Playroom was phenomenal. Rescue Mission was phenomenal. I sort of feel very confident that this game will be much the same. I love that it kind of like plays into the PlayStation universe, and there's all the kind of cameos. I'm eager to see just like how much those kind of eventuate to be. But I have a lot of faith that this is going to be like as good as a 3D platformer can sort of be, with the sort of broad appeal, I suppose, that it does. Even in like the trailer, I feel like we saw kind of touches that reminded me of like Mario Odyssey and the kind of just fun hilarity of that game.
And there's boss battles and stuff too, I think, which is like which I think is important. It's something I really like in these games. But yeah, I kind of liked the last Astro because it was short. Like, I feel like it did what it did really well, because it didn't really outstay its welcome.
Yeah,
and
I hear 80 levels and I sort of go, ooh, like that's
a lot.
It sounds like a lot of levels, but yeah, I think the benefit this game will have is that if you've bought a PS5, there's a very high chance that you've played Playroom, and like most other people, love it, and so we'll be very eager to jump into this. So obviously it'll have that base level of people who will want to get into it, but then you expect word of mouth would get around because everyone will be posting on Twitter or Facebook about all the cameos and the little nods to PlayStation that everyone will love. So I think it probably does well. But what do you guys think about it being that full game and now being like a fully paid, probably $60, $70 game? Have they even confirmed? Like US, I mean.
I was actually going to talk about price, because in like the context of Sackboy, because I feel like Sackboy never really took off as much as it could have, because it was like priced at like $110 retail, and then Sony never really dropped it, and I feel like that really missed the, say, like, if parents come in to a store and, you know, they see, I don't know, trying to think of something off the top of my head, like Bluey, $60, and then there's Sackboy, $110. Even though Sackboy is like better value for money and like probably the better game, people are gonna like go for the cheaper option. So I kind of hope that they are a little bit more, what's the word, flexible with their pricing and stuff. I mean, I know there's like first party sales every now and then, but I think that's kind of important to get Astro Bot into, like, say, family homes and stuff too, not just like our homes. You know?
Yeah, I think that's why like their kind of strategy with the Astro Bot is like so wise though, because it's the kind of game that appeals to adult gamers as well as like younger,
but so was Sackboy. Like, Sackboy was so similar to
I think
Mario
the release
3D
of
World.
Sackboy was problematic because it was like essentially a launch title for the PS5, right?
Yeah,
or like
it was.
pretty soon thereafter. I sort of feel like at that sort of time, the kind of people that are buying like a console at launch, they're not interested in Sackboy. Had that kind of come out like a year or two down the line, it might have made more sense. And then you'd have like, you know, people such as ourselves, like either buying it as a gift for, you know, the kids in our life, or like recommending it or something, or even like in the context of like an EB Games or a JB Hi-Fi or something, like the person in the games department recommending that as a potential game for the kid that the customer is in purchasing for. I think that's kind of where these games get an in, as opposed to like a Bluey or something that already has that recognition.
Yes. Sorry, just joking. I'm
I can't wait to play it.
very keen. I'm keen to see how it turns out. Absolutely. I do hope it's better than I'm kind of expecting. Probably worth mentioning as well, though. Like, going back to like Mario Wonder, I think that has 150 levels, and that was fine. They kept throwing cool shit at you, so 80 levels could be fine. Does it have like any multiplayer at all?
Not
a
that
good
I
question.
know of.
I feel
Yeah.
like that would be cool to be able to be like Astro Bot and I don't know, Astro Bot et.
Well, there's like the little
Like-
companion-y
little Fennec
Foxy
Fox
thing,
things.
right? I don't think we know if it's like how much it sort
Yeah.
of features, but yeah, that could be cool.
I would love to
Um,
sit down and play that game through with somebody. But
Yeah.
we'll wait and see.
I think that's been a really a real strength of It Takes Two. The fact that it's that cooperative sort of experience. Like
Absolutely.
every time I'm on TikTok, it's like clips of couples sort of playing that together and whatnot.
Playing Black Parade on the piano.
Yeah. But this game coming out this year, like, do you think we kind of see a year in which Nintendo has some competition in the best like family game category?
I think this
What would
year,
it be up against?
absolutely. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. It's only because there's probably going to be no competition unless my Donkey Kong game comes out that I want to happen. But yeah, I think there is absolutely a chance, for sure.
Yeah.
Because the
to
last
see.
two work very solid, so...
Yeah. Nice.
But, is there anything else from this announcement that caught your eye? Brody, I'm going to start with you.
The state of play.
Mm.
No, just Astro Bot.
Not a
Yeah.
single thing. Yeah, okay.
No.
No, it's fine.
You rated it highly overall then.
It was pretty mid, yeah. I'm glad I didn't get up for it.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
surprised you didn't say the Alien VR game. An excuse to dust off your PSVR and play some.
Has he
No,
opened it yet?
spooky
Have you
game.
opened...
I
Not true,
reviewed
it's probably
Arizona
dust-free.
Sunshine too, baby. And then I put it straight back
lovely.
under the bed.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know where mine is. It's in my house. I know that much. But,
It's probably holding up a floorboard somewhere or something.
My brother's overseas at the moment, and he's got a PSVR 2, and it's just like at his place, like collecting dust. And so I'm kind of tempted to go over and retrieve it and like play a couple of
He's,
games.
Absolutely.
oh, sorry. I thought you meant he took it overseas. I was going to say he must be very
No.
keen.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Okay.
Oh,
He's
very
he's
big
left
VR.
it. He's spending
enthusiast.
quite a while
Wore it
overseas.
on the plane.
So this is
Yeah.
there's an opportunity there. No, I thought
Ewan.
that game looked cool.
Other announcements that jumped... I've got a few, but you go. Anything jump
I mean,
out
I was
at you?
eager to. I was more interested to ask you about yours. Yeah, like Alien Rogue
okay.
Incursion was the one I was going to
Tell us
mention. I
about
thought
Silent
that
Hill,
looked kind of
James.
neat, but yeah, Silent Hill. Like, did you
yeah,
like what you saw there?
Well, I don't know. Like, it's such a weird, like... Because, like, they're clearly just copying, like, what Capcom did with Resident Evil, right? But, like, for some reason, it's just not hitting the same when it's Silent Hill 2. I don't know what it is. Yeah, it's such a weird game. Like, I don't know if it just doesn't preview well because you want to show the action you shit, but it's not about action. It's about, like, you know, guilt and
Psychological
introspective
trauma.
reflection and, like, psychological
All those
thrilling.
fun things.
Yeah, it's just like stuff you can't make appealing in a trailer. I'm so excited to play it. I'm surprised it's October. I thought it might have been a bit sooner. And I really want it to be good. But I don't know at this stage. Like, it's not a surefire hit for me, like other game trailers and stuff. But we'll see. Because the transmission afterwards was like 30 minutes of footage, and it just looks so povo. Like, the UI and stuff, it just looks really budget.
Yeah, I can't say I looked at any of that. Like, I mean, I thought the trailer we saw as part of the state of play looked interesting enough, and I clearly, like, I'm eager to play this game, not having had any experience with it before.
Yeah.
Is that like can you pinpoint what exactly is not
I
hitting
can't
quite
tell you.
right? Is it just
No, I don't know what it is. I think it's like the...
was
I
it
don't
the
know, 'cause there's a-
lo-fi
there's like a
nature
bit-
of the original kind
No,
of adding
because
to
like
the
that's the whole
eeriness?
point. Like, that's cool. That's the vibe. But it's just like the redesigns are all like kind of shit for the characters and like the city. There's just something like that's the thing about Silent Hill. It's always kind of been dirty and gritty and stuff. And all of these newer games look too nice, look too clean almost.
Yeah.
So it takes away from this atmosphere. So I can't tell you what's not. Even just like little things, like when he picks up items in the 13-minute footage, he picks it up and looks at it like in like the Order 1886. You know what I mean? Where you can kind of look at it, and it's like so shit. Like, I don't know why we need to do that. Like, it's not really. I don't know. I feel like they're trying to go for like the big bombastic, like expensive looking Resident Evil game, but like on half the budget. And Bloober is an indie team. Like, at the end of the day, like, this is a huge undertaking for them. So, like, I also kind of empathize a little bit. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm keen to see how it turns out. Like, I'm not like not gonna play it. Like, I still would love to see how it all plays out. But I don't know if this is gonna be the definitive way to play one of the most like artistically revered games of all time. You know,
which I guess is really the ultimate hope. Like
with a remake, right?
Yeah.
And then on the other side of things, like obviously the Until Dawn remake, I just watched that footage, and I'm like, I don't like. Are you shaking your head at me or at the
I'm
the
shaking
project?
my head at the remake. It's just
it's just so wholly unnecessary. Like,
I don't know how it looked worse than the PS3 version somehow.
Do you reckon it does?
Oh, well, I don't know.
PS4.
It didn't look great.
It just looks the same. Like that's
No, the lighting is better.
The fact you say remake surprises me because I thought it was just a straight port to PC. To be honest,
Nah, they're calling it a remake.
Oh God help us!
But
Shit,
yeah,
we've been
it's
going for
just
27 minutes.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird one. It's clearly
I think
like
it's- I
tied
think
around the
it's like-
movie rather than anything else.
I was gonna say, if Shannon was here, he'd be like, "Oh, it's just business, and when they have to show, people can blah, blah, blah." And then I get that, but I don't know. It just this is probably gonna be $125. Don't know, like, and it's one of those things where, like, if you know the twist, you can't even really replay it and enjoy it that much, because this is really Supermassive starting off with their shtick, right? So it didn't have, like, I guess, the breadth or the depth of, say, the Dark Pictures games in terms of outcomes and stuff. So
I think it's still the best of the bunch, though, and maybe people that haven't
critically,
played
absolutely,
it, but maybe have played The Quarry or Dark Pictures, whatever. Like they 100% should go and play this, and like this will probably be the better way to do that. I have no doubt, but yeah, it just doesn't really seem to really need much to exist other than being for the movie. I'm looking at the trailer now. I wonder if like part of the awkwardness of it is that like the animations weren't kind of updated or changed, so that like they kind of still have a bit of like jank to the movement. I think.
It's kind of like
maybe everything's
all
just been
these old
up-res and like
puppets
textures
on
replaced
new
and
backgrounds.
stuff.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like all the environments look better.
Yeah.
But then you've got like weird, awkward, big teeth people trying to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. I also not dated yet. I feel like it's coming in the next 6 months. Like, just tell us, you know. I always find that weird. But anyway. Speaking of weird, but not really. Kind of not weird, in fact. Sony has announced that they will be releasing an adapter that will allow you to connect your PSVR 2 to the PC. And
Love an
play
adapter.
Yeah. Are you being sarcastic?
I am, definitely.
Okay. Isn't it USB? Isn't the thing USB? So could you just plug it in? Do you need an adapter? Well, obviously you do, apparently, but...
Yeah, no, you're right. It is just a USB-C port, but I think like there's presumably some like processing that happens on the console that otherwise needs to... I don't know.
Yes. Yeah.
You need like a
How
display
much
port
processing
connection,
could
I
it
think,
be
for it, for sure.
at like $95? Anyway, so if you choose to do this, there are a few drawbacks. Your VR2 headset won't support HDR. I think the vibration feedback, eye tracking, adaptive triggers, or haptic feedback, and
All
it
the
will
good
cost
stuff.
you $94.95.
Yeah, so it
Yeah,
strips
so all
away
the things that make the VR2
Yes.
unique
all
don't
the
work
good
if you
features,
plug it,
strips it
if you
away,
plug it
and
into
you
a
got to
PC.
pay $100 for the pleasure. Yep.
Well,
There's probably not much else to say here. This is the death march for
The
this
news
is the
just
death
speaks
march
for
for
itself.
VR. Death march for VR 2. This is them just trying to last, as like Kind of Funny keeps saying, or Greg in particular. This is them just trying to get rid of their last units and just get rid of this thing for good now. Sell them to the PC people and just move on. It's dead. We need to accept it.
It's kind of wild.
It is. I think it's a real shame
Like-
because, like, clearly they felt they had some unfinished business after the original PSVR, and they were like,
Which they
okay,
did, because it was shit. Like, it wasn't shit, but it did
Yeah.
great work in breaking ground for VR, I think. But
Yeah.
tech wise, it was so behind. Like, even when it launched.
I think at the time, like, consumer VR was not in maybe like the best
Yes.
place, and like that was like one of the better options at the time. But nowadays, like with the Meta Quest kind of offering, I feel like it's really kind of hard for this to compete. Yeah, and I sort of feel like you kind of get a second chance to learn from the lessons you made, the mistakes you made the first time. But now that they've had the second chance and it's not panned out, it just feels hard to imagine VR ever featuring again in PlayStation, at least in like the next decade or so. Which is a real kind of sad state of affairs. But also, like, how did they make the same mistake? Like, how did they not have a ton of content out in the first, like, 2 years to support this thing? Like, where was the kind of VR modes being added to their first-party releases? Like, it seemed to be such a promising start with, like, Horizon, one of their big franchises, getting, like, a high-quality sort of release around the launch of it. But then there was just kind of felt nothing.
I think it was... The problem was, like, it's obviously more expensive than the console, and I feel like that always with like a wider audience is quite hard to stomach. And yeah, like obviously the sales didn't come as much as they wanted to, so then they didn't really want to invest in making more games beyond the launch stuff, which like I recognize, you know, as a business is what you do maybe, but also like if there's nothing there on your platform to entice people to jump in, like why would you?
Yeah,
it's just like this kind of just this ripple effect just kept like repeating itself.
I feel so bad for the two games that like were like touched on in this state of play, who are probably obviously too far into their development to pull the ripcord and get out. Now they're just like, I guess we're still putting these out. That fantasy one doesn't look half bad. Like that Behemoth one doesn't look half bad, but like
no, they do look good. Hopefully they can port to other platforms though as well.
True. Yeah,
the value proposition's just not there. Like when I'm looking it up now, like a MetaQuest 3 is currently on sale for $800, and considering you can play games on that outright without a PC, without a console, like that's a really valuable thing, and you can do so much more with that headset. Like it's a productivity tool nowadays, right? And yeah, it's getting support, and you can plug it into your computer, like should you have one. And like a Quest 2, which is still a very handy thing, like it's the VR headset I have nowadays. Like you can get that for like $360. Again, that's on a sale at the moment, I think. So
not as good as VR2, but like still a big library.
Yeah,
and very
if you just want to play like Beat Saber or you know some of those,
which
like
a lot of people do.
But when it's a VR2 plugged into a computer with all this shit going, it probably is just as good. Like
yeah,
like
and
really,
you can do that with just a single USB-C cable. Like you don't need $100 breakout box.
Brody, as
baffling.
somebody who's played Half-Life Alyx, do you think it would be a good experience on VR2?
I mean, it's a good experience in general. It's a good game. As in, you mean if they ported it across, could it maybe move?
Well, because obviously, if you plug it into the PC, there's like no, HDR feedback tracking, adapt triggers or anything like that.
Yeah.
Do you think it would work the same?
Look, I don't know. I'm not really that up to date with VR tech. Like I have only ever played on my Quest 1, and that's what I played Alex on, and like obviously it was good, but playing on newer stuff it'd probably be very different. But look, it probably wouldn't be as good an experience as if you were say playing it on the Meta Quest 3. Like I'd have to imagine, but and then like Ewan says, how do you even pretend there's value there when you've already got to buy? What's VR still? $800?
$890.
Yeah, $890. Then an extra $100 for this breakout box when you could just get an all-in-one and play Alex wireless
for cheaper.
Yeah, that's right. So
with more games.
Yeah,
because the MetaQuest games won't be on Steam and stuff, right?
No, that's right.
There's like Arkham Shadow that's just been announced. Like that won't be available on PC. So the only way to play that would be with a MetaQuest.
Yeah, that's right.
I think Meta's done a really good job at like securing a ton of games. They've clearly kind of like, I mean, I think they've acquired some studios, but they've clearly partnered up with a bunch of them. Like I don't know why PlayStation weren't kind of doing the same sort of thing and trying to convince some of them to like port the games to PS VR2 or something, because then VR2 could have been like a more premium sort of option. It's like, okay, well if you've got these VR game, or like you want to play VR games, you can get like the eye tracking, the haptics and stuff with this headset paired with a PS5 console, and also get access to all of the PlayStation exclusive titles you can't play on PC or your MetaQuest. Like, they just didn't have enough games to justify having the headset.
Mm.
May it rest in
Anyway.
peace.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully it turns around, but I think that's it, personally.
If it turns around, that'll be a bigger comeback story than No Man's Sky. Truly.
Or the Vita.
Yeah.
Oh.
That is stone cold dead.
Anyway.
But, yeah, anyway.
Yeah. Moving on. So, Summer Game Fest is very soon. I think it's in 6 days-ish. So, coming up to that, Jeff Keighley has been on Twitter talking about his baby, per se. And he's basically said that the event will be a little bit quieter than usual, and it will largely focus on existing / already announced games. So to all of you, considering our predictions that we made last week, how has this recent admission affected your excitement? I'm going to say expectations, not excitement, of the Summer Game Fest period.
It's a bit of a bummer. Like, I wish Jeff Keighley wasn't so chronically online and oversharing all this sort of stuff. Let me get my hopes and dreams through the roof. Like, don't dash me before we even get there.
I just wish these online people would just shut up a little bit. Like, just be like, yes, there's an event coming. Like, I kind of understand he must cop a lot of shit, and he does, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he has.
Like, I do get it. Even Nintendo now, like, when they announce a Direct, they're very clear about what's not going to be there, so people don't get their hopes up. But I think it does speak to maybe the lull that we're in, that a lot of these announcements do kind of come with these little asterisks next to them to say, you know, this isn't going to be something exciting on you. Like, you know.
Yeah, we're in the middle of the gen, and we're just limping through at the minute. But this 2K property, it's going to be BioShock, so it's all going to be worth it for
The
me.
new Civilization for PC only. It's
What are we up
coming,
to?
or maybe
Civ 7? 8?
7, I think. VR only, maybe. MetaQuest
7.
2 exclusive.
VR2. It's
Exclusive.
coming.
MetaQuest, yeah, maybe.
I think Keely's
Keely
right
then-
to like control. Sorry, I think Keely's right to sort of
go.
control expectations, but I do sort of agree that like he's still saying it's going to be a 2-hour long thing, and it's like, mate, to kind of really keep the momentum up for a 2-hour sort of thing, and keep people coming back in like future years as well. Like, you better make sure there are some things kind of worth people's time in here. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I wonder, like, what the logistics of it all is. If it's just like a money kind of thing, like you need to, 2 hours of ad dollars, basically. Because like, if it is smaller, just make it shorter. Like that makes sense to me. Like, that has happened in the past when
Yeah.
E3 was a thing.
It doesn't have to be 2 hours.
I think in his mind, it's like an event, and like, you know, people go and they get dressed up for it and stuff. Like, he doesn't want it to be over in 30 minutes, even if that would have worked better for time.
Is this one an event, like a physical, like the actual showing is an event?
Yeah.
There's a theater.
Yeah, okay. He also went on to add that we really tried to program some unexpected things from smaller teams and independent studios into the show as well.
So that's exciting.
Is there any... Yeah, that's a big Brody statement. Some
Absolutely.
Brody bait right there. Although this year, I've done my 10 game of the year so far. So many of them are indies. So it's definitely the year of the indies for me.
If only the rest of the team played a lot of indies.
Video games.
Video games in general.
Anyway, moving on. What do we think Hollow Knight will make an appearance here? Should we say this about every event?
It'll be at Xbox.
I feel like
if it's anywhere, it'll be at Xboxes, I reckon.
you reckon?
And it's out on Game Pass today. It'll be one
I
of
feel
those.
like that would be a pretty big announcement in the indie space. Like, I feel like that game's been coming for like a long time.
I just want, I love a reveal where you're like, oh, this indie looks good, and then the logo pops up of who the team is, and you're like, oh, I haven't seen these guys since their last game. Like, what have they been working on? Just stuff like that. Like, it always gets me jazzed. That's why I'm always so about these like Heart Machine games. Like, I know they're all interconnected now, like Hyperlight Drifter, and now coming through Solar Ash and this new one, but just there are some teams out there that are just really good. I'm just really excited to see what they're working on.
My two big ones are like the Japanese teams. The first one is the people who did the original Silent Hill. They've got Slitterhead coming.
True.
So I'm pretty excited to see that, and they are a very small team. And then obviously, even though I'm not sure about how it's going to turn out, the girl who was working on Ghostwire Tokyo and then broke off, made her own studio. I think it's called, the studio is called Unseen. Can't remember what the game was called, but I'm keen to see more of that too, if that is something.
Why did I think she was working on Slitterhead? I don't know.
Don't know. I don't know
Conflation, I
what to tell
suppose.
you. It's all Japan.
Wow.
They've probably spoken at some point, but that's besides the point.
Yeah,
sure.
I do think there might be
they're
a
all,
bit
like,
of like some
friends,
clever
kind of.
word. Sorry, I think there might be some like clever wording in this as well, right? That like smaller teams and independent studios, like maybe he's just kind of distinguishing from like your heavy hitters, like your, you know, PlayStation, Ubisoft, Xbox, etc. So yeah, like maybe there's still an opportunity for like Skydance to be there with Marvel 1943. That
Kojima's
kind of thing.
independent.
Kojima's obviously like an independent sort of studio.
I think also Prince of Persia, like that has kind of paved the way. I mean it's probably too soon, but like seeing these big publisher IPs being developed by indie studios, like say Silent Hill Townfall by the guys who did Untold Stories, like that's also something that maybe we could see.
Yeah.
But there's even like we say like already announced games, like Dragon Age was announced X years ago, and that's like something I would expect to maybe pop up here.
True.
And even though that's already been announced, that's still quite exciting. The new Mass Effect. I know that's me getting like too excited, but I think Dragon Age especially.
Our hype's creeping back up there.
Yeah, it's back.
Here we
like
go.
a bad rush. But Keighley has also mentioned that a couple of big games that won't be featured, such as GTA 6, Metal Gear Solid Delta, The Wolf Among Us 2, and Kingdom Hearts 4, while confirming that we will see more of Metaphor ReFantasio, Monster Hunter Wilds, and what's next for Power World.
Oh, cool.
Which, like, I was going to say,
back
remember when
in.
Ewan was like, this is going to be the next best thing, and like, no one plays it anymore. But
I played like 50 hours of that game, and it was
They're all
great.
playing Helldivers.
That's really good, Ewan, but it was a flash in the pan. Just admit it.
But
Like,
if you get like 50 hours out of any game, that's a win.
it depends on the game, but yes.
I enjoyed
I
more of the
agree.
hours I spent playing Power World than I did Final Fantasy Rebirth. Let me put it that way.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Controversial.
That's fucked up. Anyway,
Be reflected in my ranking at the end of the year.
If Power World's in your 10, then God help us.
yeah. Well,
Might be.
like Brody was saying before, alluding to before,
Oh, yeah.
ever so elegantly. But real talk. Do any of these emissions particularly surprise you?
No, like GTA 6 was never going to be there. Like, they don't need these events. We've established this. What else did you say? Like Power World? Oh no, that is coming. Shit. What's being
Metal
admitted?
Gear surprises me.
So Metal Gear is my big surprise as well. Like I was really under the impression that was coming this year.
Yeah.
Recent leaks have suggested it slipped into next year, 2025. But
I think they
that
heard
is
your
kind of-
criticism about the color.
Yeah, that takes a whole year too. So we better be careful because that's Konami. So who knows what they're going to do to Silent Hill 2 now? Just delete the whole thing. If they're listening. Yeah, I think Wolf Among Us as well. Like, I feel like they've been banging that drum for a long time. Like, I'm surprised we won't be seeing more of that here. Kingdom Hearts, yeah, whatever. But like, yeah.
I will say, like, the things to rule out, though, like, this kind of does leave some doors open. Like, I don't know in which place, like, was this one of, like, his Twitter Spaces things that he was doing?
Yeah.
Like, these quotes came from, yeah.
I assume
Like, it
people were just
depends on what people are
harping about The Wolf
asking
Among
and,
Us,
like, what
yeah.
specific games people are asking about. But I've seen so many other games being discussed in this context that, like, you know, Bioshock, for instance, like, would he kind of... Like, are we surprised he didn't shoot down Bioshock as being a potential announcement, or Ghost of Tsushima, something like that? So it kind of gives me hope a little bit that some of those other big announcements will be there. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how much we should, like, read into what he's saying or just kind of take it for face value.
Yeah.
I think it'll be fine. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I think it'll still be good. I think I have a very middling expectations of the whole period, so like that can only be exciting from this point on. I feel.
Realistically, if we come out of it with a bunch of, like, indie games for me to chuck on my Steam wish list, like, that's a pretty good result.
Yeah, I really hope it's worth traveling for, Brody. Just
Yeah,
quietly.
Fortunately, it's not the only thing I'm going across for, but
Yeah.
look, hopefully it is at least fun to watch. Yeah.
Yeah. There'll be a musical piece or two.
I
I
thought they
expect
ruled
to see
that out as
you
well.
in the aisles dancing.
I thought he might have ruled that out, but anyway.
Oh, really? There's no
Hopefully
musical
not.
piece this year?
I thought so. I'm not sure. I might have misread.
I guess that's more of like a game
Game
The
award.
musical
Awards.
is the Game Awards,
Yeah.
I feel. Yeah, but we'll see.
Yeah.
The next topic we'll spend very short on because I don't think there's much we can say, but Nintendo were very probably surprised and disappointed to hear that a Google employee may have been to blame for leaking information by accessing private videos on the company's YouTube accounts before the videos were published. The news comes the way of 404 Media, who are reporting on a number of potential security and privacy issues at Google.
James, did you not predict that this was happening? Did you not have a suspicion that this was the case?
I thought it was somebody translating. So, like, you get like pages for the game to put up on the store, and they might, get some stuff there.
Yeah.
And I think Shannon actually might have said the YouTube thing.
Yeah, because
but it makes
it's because these leaks
it
always
makes
happen
sense.
right at this time of year, like when these videos are getting logged into the system, ready to go for the announcers and stuff like that. Like it's always very, it makes a lot of sense.
Unfortunately.
Do we think Nintendo will do anything about this, or do you reckon that'll be it?
They are traditionally very litigious, so they may want to take it further. But
would Nintendo want to take on Google? Is that like
well,
what?
yeah, that's
Do you know what I mean? Like, is that how that plays out, or is it like?
they might just throw a stern warning across. Just say, look, cut that out over there, YouTube. Stop that.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that like we have kind of confirmation of what's happening, but I don't think it'll. I think it won't happen again now, right? Like I feel like at this point.
Yeah, I
see.
sort of feel like if Google's like, you would hope that if Google's caught onto this happening, that they, I guess like swiftly remove the people involved. Because there's a privacy issue with this, right? It's not just Nintendo that could be caught up in this, but like any sort of number of things, like movie studios putting out new trailers, that sort of thing. Like, it's not good for YouTube's business to allow this sort of thing to happen. Yeah, I think
it makes perfect sense because Nintendo has been pretty like locked down for a long time about a lot of stuff. So for it to be kind of an external leak in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure like even if they don't move like any sort of suit, I think that's probably not in their interest. You're right, Brody. But
it's just so weird to me. Like, what do you have? Like, you work at Google, right?
Yeah.
Which I imagine it's quite hard to get to that point. It must be a competitive place to try and get a job, and then you just decide to just post all this shit online. Like, for what? Like, that's what I don't understand.
Because that's always anonymous. Like, what clout are you getting?
Yeah,
literally, it's so anonymous. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Just really, so odd. You're not even making money, like off Twitter ads or something. It's just
it is
very.
weird. It kind of
very
just spoils
strange
people's
behavior.
fun, to be honest. Like, I much prefer to see a trailer and see the news and ads that way rather than reading like a new forum post.
Yeah, or a tweet from a known profile picture.
How good would the Astro Bot reveal have been if we didn't know it was coming the week prior? Like, I feel like it would have been markedly better. So, fuck leaks. Anyway,
moving on. Speaking of leaks, let's talk Ubisoft for this week's rapid fire question. Word was released this week that Ubisoft Toronto, who have previously worked on Far Cry 5 and 6 and Watch Dogs Legion, and have probably just finished working on Star Wars Outlaws, have joined Ubisoft Montreal in the development of Prince of Persia: Sands of Time remake.
how many teams is that now?
So, I don't know. But I did look up Toronto. They're not working on Assassin's Creed. So, they've obviously just jumped over. But we have a 2-part rapid-fire question today, prepared by Ewan. If you were to guess what year this game would materialize, when would it be? You can say never as well. That's a legitimate answer. And assuming it does come out, will it be good, mid, or not good?
I reckon this game isn't coming out until 2026. That could be early still. Yeah. I sort of feel like the kind of key checkpoint. Sorry, I know this is a rapid fire question, but like the key development like checkpoint that they hit or whatever they called it, they probably had like the game kind of mapped out and like the kind of all that pre-production work, and it was just like the kind of asset ramping. It's like, okay, cool, like we gotta build this level out. Like I feel like kind of all the groundwork was done, and they're just kind of like building everything en masse to kind of plug it in now. But that's a lengthy process, right? So late 2026, I'm gonna say, optimistically.
Yeah, and is it going to be good?
Oh, sorry, I should answer that one. Yeah, I still have hope it's good. Maybe not great, but good.
I say September next year, and it will be 78 on Metacritic
Oh wow,
/ Rotten Tomatoes, whatever.
Very
you
specific.
you heard it here
Yeah,
first.
why not? Let's get sexy with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you have an opinion, James?
To go back to what you asked, just to go back to what Brody said, it was being developed by 2 studios of Ubisoft in India, like it was their first game that they were
was it
leading.
Ubisoft Pune or something like that.
Yeah, Pune and Mumbai, 2 studios. And then it kind of got revealed, no one liked it, moved to Montreal, and now Toronto's on it. So I don't think it's a lot of teams, to be honest. I think they're all busy on Star Wars and Assassins.
Yep.
But it is a PS2 game. Like, at the end of the day, like, the scope and the scale of it is nowhere near those other 2 games. So I'm surprised it's taking so long. Which is why I feel like it is definitely next year, to answer the question. And I think it will be... I think it'll be good. I don't think you put Montreal on a game, which is like, Ubisoft's big studio.
Yeah.
And it turns out shit, honestly.
That they had to have like totally redesigned the game though, right? I sort of feel like they went to the drawing board and like essentially hit
developed it
reset on
originally?
it. What, like 2 years ago now?
Like 20 years ago.
Originally, it was like Ubi Montreal.
Oh, right. So, yeah, the exact team you'd want on it then.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
probably not the exact team.
The exact team.
Yeah.
The building. The
haven't
building
changed
is
at
the
all.
same, I'm assuming. It's
building
built in
probably
the same
changed a lot.
walls.
Maybe.
Yeah.
They probably
Maybe
moved.
they've moved.
Yeah.
Yeah. If so, all hope is lost. Anyway, speaking of hope, let's play another round of What the Wiki. Press Start. The Press Start podcast game show where the previous week's winner reads part of a Wikipedia page for an unknown game and the contestants must guess the game. A point is awarded for each correct guess and the round ends after one person scores 2 points. As last week's winner, I am in the hosting chair. Once again, it's a thankless task.
Must be getting draining hosting this thing.
Oh, it's just exhausting.
What a drag.
So I'm in the hosting chair. I'm leading the scoreboard at the moment on 20 points. And next down for me is 13 points, Ewan and Shannon.
It was so
12
far
points.
behind.
12 points. We've got to get clean sweeps. 12 points is Brody, 10 points is Kieran, and 5 points is Harry.
We need to start conspiring behind the scenes. The fix has got to be in, I think.
Brody, I'll give you a
Anyway.
pizza if you just feed me the answers here.
A pizza? What do you
Can I
like?
feed you the pizza
I do
as
like
well?
pizza.
Like,
I'll order you a pizza at your house.
You can't at my house. I live in the bush, mate. Anyway. I literally have no course of like Uber Eats, nothing. I have
so
nothing.
he can have like damper, isn't that what
That's like a bread thing, yeah.
people who...
I'll light a fire. I'll put it on my wood fire. I'll make my own pizza.
Yeah.
You
country Australia bread.
you Woolies order me the ingredients of a pizza, and I will make a pizza on my wood fire.
And a damper.
Ooh,
Yeah, okay.
Sounds
I'll
pretty
hold
good,
you to that.
Actually, that sounds better
That's
than
like
anything
80
I would order anyway.
With today's inflation, that's $80. But we'll do it. Okay, let's go. Should I say this? No, I'm not going to say it. Anyway, let's go. I was going to say there's a theme, but maybe there is. Maybe there isn't. I've already said it.
There
Let's
is now.
move on.
There's a thing.
Yeah, there is. There might be. Cool. The game is an action-adventure title with heavy elements of hack-and-slash gameplay. I also just quickly want to say they might be games we've had before. I'm very sure we've had almost all of them
We're kind
before.
of at that point now anyway, it's fine.
Yeah.
But we're in service of the theme. So I had to, yeah.
Okay.
The gameplay of the game resembles a martial arts title focused on melee combat
Brody.
while featuring opportunities. Yes.
No, I will step back. I won't submit. So
You lose points if you do that.
No, you
from
don't.
now on. No, yeah. Stop messing with the sanctity of the game. The main character uses a weapon called the which changes into one of 3 forms depending on what attack stance the player uses. Speed stance provides an even balance between damage
Ewan.
and speed.
Yes,
Yes,
I totally just didn't listen to that last thing you said. Ghost of Tsushima is going to be my answer.
No, it's not. Range stance allows fast, long range but weaker attacks, and power stance is the most powerful but slowest, where attacks are made with the sword in the shape of one large two-handed blade. For exploration and certain battles, the game also makes use of quick time events. blah, blah, blah. In addition to the main character, a secondary character is controlled for some portions of the game. Many of her stages take the form of sniping missions using her crossbow
Brody.
to pick off enemies. Yes, Brody.
So I don't want to fall out again. No, I don't know. Sorry, you threw me with the sniper thing at the end.
Oh, wow.
You threw me with it. You threw me with it. You threw me with the sniper part. I will not chime in again unless I'm sure.
Sniper.
Projectiles can be maneuvered to their targets using the motion sensing capabilities of the 6-axis controller
Oh
through
my
a feature
God.
known as aftertouch. Such projectiles include guiding the secondary character's arrows after she has launched them, and for the main character, guiding a cannon or rocket launcher, or picking up and throwing objects.
Oh,
The game's story and mythos revolves around the titular weapon, a blade said to have been
Ewan.
wielded. Yeah, Brody was first.
Is it Heavenly Sword?
It is Heavenly
I
Sword.
was going to guess that
Congratulations.
like 10 seconds ago, but it's not a game I've played, so it was feeling
No,
like very
neither.
like shot in the dark. Beck. Well done, Brody.
Okay, well, still a chance for it, Ewan.
We're all tied now.
Okay.
Well, like me, Shannon.
Well, except for
Brody.
James.
Yeah. We're competing for second place here now. You know?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's only mid-year.
I don't know where to start in this Wikipedia entry. The game is a 2012 augmented reality game for the PlayStation 3, developed by London Studio.
Augment.
The game is based on a fictional book by Miranda Goshawk, released about 200 years from the event date. The game received mostly positive reviews from critics, praising the use of augmented reality and the PlayStation Move, while criticizing the game's short length. The game is designed to be an interpretation of learning spells at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry, with the book itself having been
DL.
written in the
What is this thing
Harry
called?
Potter universe. At the end of each chapter, a poem will describe a failed Hogwarts student in order to teach the user a lesson in the manner of Aesop's fables. At the start of the game, players choose one of 4 Hogwarts houses and one of 3 different wands. Oh my god. The user casts spells by drawing shapes with the PlayStation Move controller, while the book itself uses augmented reality technology to appear on screen via the PlayStation Eye. Guys, really?
I know the game. I just don't know what it's called. It's a longish title, isn't it? I think. Like a few,
Not really.
Like 3 or 4 words.
It's a very rudimentary... Is rudimentary the right word?
Basic.
Yeah.
Okay.
The game had one sequel, a second Harry Potter themed game called Book of Potions, released in 2013. It holds a 72 on Metacritic. I'm running out of things to read. Critics praised the use of the Wonderbook technology by the use of both the Move and augmented reality, while criticizing the game's short replay value. I've already said this. What do we do?
I don't know. Do we just
don't
take
know the
punts?
name?
Ewan.
Brody.
Yeah.
Is
Ewan
it-
was first.
Oh, sorry,
Is it
go please.
Harry Potter Book of Magic.
No.
Is it... Alright, we'll just take turns. Okay. Is it Harry Potter Wonder Book? Because I noticed you said that.
No.
Oh, okay.
So Wonderbook is
hang
the
on.
peripheral.
Is it Book of Spells? Or
It
something?
is Book of Spells. I'm sorry, Brady. You don't
No.
get the sweep.
That's okay. I'm just happy we got out of there.
Something just unlocked.
I'm-
I'm just happy we got out of there.
There's 2 left that I've got, and they're both not good for you, and I don't think. But we'll see how we go.
He might surprise us.
He might. Who knows?
You never know.
The game assumes the role of a dragon-riding knight named Ron, R-O-H-N, so like John Partridge.
Ewan.
Ron is... Who went? Was it Ewan?
Yeah. Is this Lair?
Yeah. Fuck! Siri. Wow, Ewan. You surprised us. Wowee.
That is a crazy pull. Where the fuck are you
Let's
pulling
go!
Lair from?
Yeah.
Where are you
It's all
pulling Lair from?
games that are stuck... It was all games that are stuck on PS3. I was inspired by Shannon
Yeah.
last week.
So my Lair I bought like pretty early.
You
in
remember
time
Ron?
on my
Actually,
PS3.
wowee.
Yeah,
You remember Ron well.
because I remember seeing the
Yeah.
trailer and thinking, "Fuck, this game looks sick."
It was not sick.
But I reckon it was like kind of one of the first times, like, because bear in mind I was in primary school at this point
or something. Yeah.
I reckon it's one of the first kind of games I was like, this is not good. I kind of discerned that at the young age.
Wow, Lair, what a
yeah.
pull.
Yeah, my other one was Haze.
Oh wow.
Remember
Yeah, I was
Haze?
probably
Do you
fucked
remember
either way.
Hayes?
Well,
Wow.
oh yeah, I'm hosting. So with that, let us bring an end to this week's episode of the Press Start podcast. Subscribe to us on Listener or the podcast service of your choice. Follow us at press.au or visit the site at pressstart.com.au. We've been joined today by Brody.
Thank you. You can follow me on most things at Brody_DG.
Look, you got a point. That's good.
Look,
right?
I'm glad. I couldn't have hosted next week anyway because I won't be here. So
See,
True.
it's all
it
meant
makes
to be.
sense. It all makes sense.
And taking home the majority of the points is Ewan.
I worked up a sweat celebrating that. I ran to the lap of the room.
Yeah, I believe you. On his dragon.
You can follow me on socials at Ewan_Roxborough.
And I've been your host, James. You can follow me on X at JamesATJMZ. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time, happy gaming.
Bye.
Jeez, how big is the compound you're
Bye.
running around, Ewan? Christ. Running around your property.
It's not a big room. I just launched.